And so we are live. And this is Cyversity's Engage Impact Interview Series. And today is one of our most preeminent interviews because we'll be speaking with Monique Head, who happens to be the Director of Education and Curriculums for Cyversity. And of course, this has always been sponsored by Cyversity. And so this is a good opportunity for us to get together and speak about things that are impactful to our industry and to our security community here at Cyversity. Typically, before we get into that, I usually go through a couple of, I go through a little introduction for those who are new, who have, this is their first time. So those who have been here before, please just bear with me as I go through this a couple of minutes and just introduce, if you will, Cyversity. Our program, our organization is called Cyversity, and our mission is to achieve the consistent representation of women, traditionally underrepresented minorities and veterans. All of this is part of our effort to develop diversity in the cybersecurity industry. And we do that because I think our chairperson, our chairwoman, Sharon, says that we're in a war, and in that war, we need to have diverse approaches, diverse thoughts, and diverse expertise to win that war against malicious actors. And to that end, Cyversity has created programs that are designed to diversify, to educate, to empower, to create retention, to create relational expertise throughout the industry. Excuse me, in the background, I happen to be at my home office, and the lawnmower guy is going crazy outside. All right. But this is a membership organization. So if you are a member, you've probably been through this process. And if you're not a member, take the time or take advantage of that scanning mechanism or that QR code on the screen. Scan it, and it will take you to our membership page, which will give you some information on how to become a member. And as with members, there's dues, and our dues are pretty simple. They're annual dues. They're not monthly dues. You just pay dues every month, every year. And our students are paid $20 a year to invest in themselves. That month thing keeps popping up in my head. But professionals pay $100 a year, and they invest in themselves. And for that membership, those membership fee, there are resources. There are benefits that we provide here at Cyversity. We've got double-digit chapters across the nation, and they're ever growing. I think our latest chapter was in either Seattle or in Florida, in Tampa, Florida. So we've got more chapters growing up where members can interact and engage engage locally in your area. Our flagship program happens to be, or one of our flagship programs happens to be mentorship program. It's a 16-week mentorship program where we connect a industry leader or industry individual that's dedicated and senior in their tenure in the industry, and we connect them in a one-on-one fashion or in a group fashion with mentees who are aspiring to chart their path through cybersecurity. Also, since the very inception of Cyversity in 2014, we've been giving out scholarships to the tune of millions of dollars that we've helped folks through their college experience, through their training experience, through their college rooming experience, or what have you. We've been giving out scholarships either through individual donors or through corporate sponsors since the inception of Cyversity in 2014. We've also got quite a few events, like here in Austin, where I live. We're going to be doing we're going to be sponsoring an Innotech Austin conference where we're going to be doing some speed interviews with folks that are coming in. We've got a whole list of recruiters, hiring managers, college professors that are going to be interviewing some of these students. And that happens not only in Austin, but across the nation in every chapter that Cyversity has in operations today. We've also got on-demand training. This session will be in our on-demand training. If you go to our website, you'll go and click down on one of our tabs. You'll be able to get to on-demand training and see this and many of the other presentations or webinars or sessions that have been in place, that have been recorded and are available on YouTube. Of course, there's huge networking, and this piece of our program is incredibly huge because it gives you an opportunity to begin to grow your network educationally, grow your network from an experiential level, from a hands-on level, from just engaging with others who have been through this industry and have had time in this industry. Our topic areas are listed there: career development, career spotlighting, transitioning, leadership, tech talk. Typically, if you can see there on our screen, between February, January, and December, there are several highlights that happen throughout the year. This month, it's Women's History Month. We're so happy to have Monique here to represent Women's History Month for the Impact Interview Series this year. This is our ground rules. It's about a 45-minute talk, excluding what I'm saying now, talking about leadership, diversity, inclusion, and there are going to be a lot of questions. So put your questions in the comment section. I encourage you to put your questions in there early so that we can go and ask your question, especially as Monique and I discuss our program. Next month, this is another Impact Interview Series where we'll be talking to Senior Vice President of Lars Consulting, Dr. Mark Arnold. If you look at this gentleman's background, not only is he a 20-year technologist, but he's also a Harvard grad, a Stanford grad, a Princeton theological grad. He's a reverend, and so his whole mechanism in cybersecurity is about serving. And when you look at some of the things that he's done in the industry and how he's really focused on the disinformation campaigns that are impacting the various groups, inclusive of African American and Black groups and communities of color, it's going to be an encouraging conversation. I am going to step back from this and just go to Monique and I. Hi, Monique. How are you?
Hi, how are you doing? I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. I think this is such a great opportunity for us to talk to as many of the individuals that are going to be in our studio, listening to you talk about this new, and not new, but expanded, enhanced educational program. I mean, this whole format that we've been involved in is focused around informing, educating folks either in their early stages, in their mid stages, or even in their senior stages, because quite frankly, being a CISO is not the end of the road for folks. It's the beginning of new opportunities in public boards and private boards and advisory boards and just and C-suite engagement and activities. And so with this in mind, really happy to have you here to speak with us.
Thank you.
It's always interesting and amazing the kinds of backgrounds, if you will, that individuals bring to the table when they come to our this interview session sponsored by Cyversity. I've just met you maybe about 3 or 4, 5 months ago. Actually, it was at the conference. You were hustling past me, and I had to stop you and say, "Hey, Monique, how you doing?" And so, if you would, Monique, just give us a little background. Maybe 2 or 3 minutes or 4 minutes about Monique, but be liberal at it and just give us some background about Monique.
I thought about it. I want to maybe share about myself those things that people may find a little bit interesting or just a little bit outside the box. One of these days, I'll probably write a book because some things are really different. So I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, although I work out from the West Coast. And originally, so people will know, and I've read someplace where someone described me as an educator, and I'm like, no, I'm not an educator. In that, when I was growing up, my mother was a teacher, and I don't know why I did not want to be a teacher. I enjoyed school okay, but in my mind, I'm like, as soon as I graduate, they're never going to see me again. I am tired of learning different things, and I just want to get out there and work and live my life. But here we fast forward, and here we are. And I would say that I am an educator of sorts, even though my particular focus is on cybersecurity. And I enjoy learning. And in the world we live in today, learning never ends. to be able to keep pace and be relevant in the cybersecurity community, you are always learning something to kind of keep up and stay relevant. So here we are, a girl from Atlanta, Georgia, who didn't want to have anything to do with school once she was done. And now she is immersed in educating and knowledge, albeit with cybersecurity. So the knowledge landscape today is so different. There's so many different innovations happening at such a quick rate that, and I did a talk on this not too long ago, and we looked at the rate of, say, for example, when the plow was invented, then you had tools, then you had agriculture, to the rate of how things happen today in just the last 5 to 10 years. There have been so many changes, and now with AI, it's just happening at lightning speed. So we all must keep up, because a lot of these changes have to do with technology, and we need to just be able to be a part of that. And it's a global thing as well, which brings me to another point. I've lived in the United States and I lived abroad in France or in the EU. So understanding how there are diverse ways of thinking, there are people that are diverse, there are just a lot of differences in the world. And the more you can do to understand and educate yourself about these differences, it will help you to be able to communicate and relate to others. So that's another thing. And I would say, if you ask me, what are the top 2 or 3 things you're really proud of? I started the distance education program at Morehouse College. So I would say that's at the top of my list. And I learned a lot about working in the community. And I have a special, admiration, I think, as all women of color do, for our counterparts, men, and how we can all work together to, make the world a better place. And worked at the Art Institute online, which is where I got my love for teaching online, and also was a business owner. As I said before, I lived in France and I had a business there.
Wow. You've had quite and it's not over, you have had quite the journey. I don't want to sound so fatalistic, but you've had quite the journey and quite the journey in education. It sounds your mom was an educator, you ran away from it, but sometimes these things just bring you back to it. So what drove you back to education? Was there something that just put you back in the middle of it?
I think, and I would say a lot of people in cybersecurity, we all have this in common: a natural curiosity, wanting to understand how something works, why it works that way, and if or can you do anything to kind of change and not necessarily manipulate it, but be a part of that. So it was more about that natural curiosity. And if you have a general natural curiosity, that's knowledge, because you're always going to learn something, whether it's about people or about a particular technology. So I would say that's what brought me back to it. And I think my mother would be pretty proud.
I think she would be too. I think in the email I sent you last night, I said, hey, you are an educator. You've been an educator, and you've been an educator in so many different spheres and spaces. I mean, you've got your own company, as you mentioned. Tell me a little bit about the cybertutorial.org.
Oh, yeah. Well, I started a nonprofit called Cybertorial. And what it is geared to do is to educate young girls from diverse backgrounds on how to stay safe online, because that's a very targeted audience. And then to cultivate an appreciation and maybe even an interest in cybersecurity, so we can up our workforce from that aspect. I mean, think about it. You might have young people who are athletes. They love basketball or baseball or football. You learn that from a young age, and it's cultivated. So with cybersecurity, we can also begin to cultivate that at a young age. And I call it edutainment, because we want to educate while we entertain. There is too much to learn, too much going on for, in my mind, to just sit and do pure entertainment. Now, I know a lot of TikTok fans and maybe Instagram fans will be, no, entertainment, my cat videos, that's the bomb. And I'll say that I enjoy that too. but there's so much that we need to keep up on. We also have to integrate education within that form of entertainment as well. So that's my attempt to do that. It's just kind of a private passion I have. I just do it on the side when I have time. I would say one of my big loves where I do spend a lot more time is with Cyversity, because Cybertorial one day, I hope it will feed into Cyversity, and Cyversity starts, from maybe high school on, and we help to educate and also give an interest in cybersecurity and to get people prepared to work in the workforce. So hopefully Cybertorial can help Cyversity's mission, tomorrow.
Great. In your travels, both here and abroad, you've worked with individuals on training and education.
Mm-hmm.
What's the commonality? What do you see as the human opportunity or the human factor in training? Do we naturally migrate, or are we naturally attracted to training and education? Are we naturally curious? Or is this something that is formed that you have to develop? Leaders aren't made. Leaders are made. They're not born, or vice versa. But
I would say this about education. I think every person is different. Some people get to a point and they're happy and satisfied, and they like the routine and they go in that particular direction. And some people are naturally curious and they go a little bit more in that direction. So it depends on the person. I can't lump everyone into a particular category. But I would say if you look at it, it's about if you're driven to succeed and you want to do more, be more, and that's a large number of people, then knowledge acquisition is a part of it. How can I do more and be more if I only use the information I had yesterday? Because today is a new day and tomorrow will be yet different. So you have to be willing to evolve yourself to grow as the world kind of evolves in whatever direction that is. So, I would say that's part of it. And I would say the key to success is people radiating toward what they naturally enjoy, finding their passion. If you do something just for the money, you're doing it for money. And on those nights where you have to not necessarily put an all-nighter or put in that extra effort or that extra time, it's much harder to do. You can do it, but it's harder to do. If it's something you have a natural inclination toward, if it's something that you naturally enjoy, a passion, well, you enjoy doing it and you don't even think about it. So I always tell, young people or students, try to find something that you can actually incorporate your passion of what you enjoy with what you're doing, because you'll naturally excel. It'll become a lot easier for you as you, evolve yourself. You're on mute, David.
I always do that. I just naturally just start chatting away. In any event, what I wanted to ask, in all of these things that you've done, I'm assuming that there's been lessons learned, things that you've learned along the way from working with organizations like HP, with, Palo Alto, Netflix, and what have you. And in all of those organizations, it looks like you've spent a good amount of your time creating programs to train, to educate, to facilitate, to help folks learn how to sell, be sales, business development, if you will. So what lessons have you been able to pull away from or garner from all of those experiences? What have you learned about people in part? I know that they're all different. And what have you learned about people, and what have you learned from your experiences as being an educator in those corporate settings?
Well, what I would say, I don't think I'm necessarily unique, but I've worked at a number of different companies, in particular in the Silicon Valley area. And one thing I've noted is that working at a company is like every company has its own different personality. And that's important to note. So it's not a person, but they all have their different personalities. And it's important when you get either with a person or even with a company to begin to learn and understand the difference in that personality, what that particular entity feels is important. They may have a lower or higher risk tolerance because it's based on the business. So just learning what's important to them. And so that's one of those kind of life lessons. We can't always think about what's important to me. It's a balance of what's important to the other as well as what's important to me, and bringing those two together. So understanding what's important, the goals for the company, that's always important to know. That's just across the board. And then trying to insert yourself into that narrative to make a positive difference. That's an important thing to think about. What's important to them, you want to support their goals within the area that you can control, or at the very least the area that you can contribute to. And when you make yourself relevant in that way, that makes you, that's kind of a win-win for both situations. So just make sure along the way, while you do that, you take care of yourself. So number one should be yourself, your quality of life, and what makes you a healthy person. And then you'll be more present and there for that company.
Yes, great.
Or entity.
Yes, the whole idea of you being an educator and you being a trainer, you said it a little bit. You said it a little bit earlier. Business matters, and of course, if you're in a business and you want to be able to, take your product from concept to production and to delivery, everyone in your group has to understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and of course, that brings in an educator to educate and train. I feel that training is probably the biggest, one of the bigger expenses and the more useful, more necessitative tools. What's your take on how important training and education is to corporations?
I think it's very important. Education is the key. Knowledge is power. And that's like on a personal level, just living life. Knowledge is power. What people know or think they know will a lot of times determine how they act, the policies they create, or what they stand behind. So knowledge is important. And knowledge of your history or the past is very important as well. Now, I just thought about this, so I'm just going to drop this. I think I should copyright it. It's the fact that when we're dealing with computers, everyone's heard of data analytics. What is data analytics? It is knowledge, it is information, and it is how, say, even a computer can take data and analyze it and come out with reports. So whatever, you're taking in some way, historical information to maybe create or predict or forecast something for the future. So it's the same thing. It's representative of knowledge, it's power. And also, when you take information as a person and learn something, it will help you to be able to operate and to be able to, one, contribute or do things. Knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power that you can give yourself. So it will always be there, and it is very, very important. Both past historical knowledge, the present of what's going on, so you can help position yourself for the future or be able to predict what will be in the future. That's what knowledge is about, and knowledge will help you to do that. So knowledge is our form of human data analytics.
Nice. Great way to put that. Great way to put that. I think that we've, in our conversation, I think we've spent a sufficient amount of time giving everyone the basis for your expertise. And again, here comes the lawnmower guy. So I think we've given them the basis for your expertise. I'd like to spend the rest of our time talking about the educational program that you've enhanced at Cyversity. I think you've got some slides. Matt, you're in the background, in the back channel there. Can you begin to bring them up? So, we've had this educational program at Cyversity, of course, as practitioners of this discipline and this discipline and this practice. Education, as you earlier mentioned, is forever ongoing. Tell us about this educational program. Tell us about the enhancements. Just give us the full blow by blow, if you will, Monique, and just take us through your process, concept,
Okay.
development and what have you. Let me get out
Okay.
of your way there.
So first, and I'm just going to give a brief, more of an overview or summary. So number one, before we go into like any slides and look at the different tracks that we offer, the different levels that we offer, let's talk about kind of the overall vision, the goal. And let me say first that a lot of this was in place. And what we've done is try to go in and do a Cyversity security education curriculum 2.0. And we just want to take it to the next level because, again, it's about evolution and improvement, so on and so forth from the past. So we want to evolve the offerings that we've had in the past. The vision is to empower our members throughout every phase of their cybersecurity journey. So no matter where you are at the beginning, in the middle, and you're wanting to kind of move up the ladder, or even at that goal of being a CISO, because I'm not really sure how much higher you can go. Although we have not had a president that was the first president that was a CISO. It's possible. Well, in any case, we want to kind of empower people as they go through that journey. We want to foster learning and the acquisition of the skills that are essential for both personal and professional growth. So that's what we're about here, is doing that. And so this is about cybersecurity, but it's about that personal growth as well. So it will always evolve and adapt and grow, but that's the kind of end goal of what we're looking at. So now, if you want to know how we're going to do this, we want to do this with real world cybersecurity education. And that's looking at what has worked in the past, what works and where we are now, but you got to be looking toward the future. For example, AI is coming up and how cybersecurity will support the efforts for AI to remain or to be safe. That's something that we need to be looking at. And we want to, as soon as we find those quality offerings, be able to share with our members. Okay. We want people to think about where they are. And if they need a little bit of a tune up so they can stay relevant at that area because they're happy, that's great. Hopefully we can help them do that. Or they'll look at where they are and they want to continue evolving their career and getting to the next level. We can hopefully help them to do that and climb that cybersecurity corporate ladder as well. So we're looking at all those things, and we're looking at, hey, one of the first things that's very important in cybersecurity is diversity in talent. Because when you have people that think different, that come from different backgrounds, you can insert that into that formula of what will help keep a company safe or secure as much as possible. And that's what does it. Whether it's diversity when you're looking at gender, because women think maybe a little bit differently than men, or it may be just from the background because of your demographics, where you're from, your culture, so on and so forth. Having a good, healthy mixture that helps that cybersecurity narrative. So we're here to help bring all that together. Now, how are we going to do that? And I'm going to start going through some slides because this is that one chance I have we're not going to give a deep dive, but we can give a bit of an overview and people can see what's coming down the pike and where we are right now.
Hey, Monique, can I just make one statement, if you don't mind, please?
Yes.
So you folks that are in the back channel, if you will, don't hesitate to ask questions. Those questions, as Monique goes through this process, we're going to be able to just answer those questions, right here, right now, while we have Monique. Well, we're blessed to have Monique for this session. So don't worry, ask your questions. We'll get to them right away. Thanks, Monique.
Okay. So the first level we have, there are 3 levels. We're looking at the first level now. So, and I wouldn't say, it's a level, and we call it foundational. So let's say that you're new to cybersecurity, or you are changing your career to cybersecurity from some other career that you've had. Totally fine. Because remember, diversity in thought. So if you're coming from, let's say, HR, or even you're coming from the arts or any particular place, there is room for you. There is a place for you in cybersecurity. You just need to find that niche, because remember, use your passion and bring your passion into whatever you do. And with cybersecurity, every type of company needs cybersecurity. So no matter what you do, what you're interested in, you can kind of match that. So with that, We have different, and right now we're kind of categorizing it because a lot of people that are familiar with cybersecurity to a certain extent, they can understand some of the really nice offerings that are out there. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. What we're trying to do is to make that wheel smoother and smoother. We're taking out all the bumps and the bruises that you might kind of see in it. So you'll see Cybrary. That is something we had in the past. We'll be offering different licenses so you can go, and we call this the Becoming series, because you can learn about becoming a SOC analyst, or becoming a pen tester, or becoming, say, for example, a pen tester, whether you be on a blue team, a purple team, or a red team. And it depends, again, if you might say, well, I don't know what all those colors mean. Well, then you need to take one of those particular courses and learn more about it, because that may be the direction that you want to go. So the Cybrary series is there to help people to figure out where they feel they fit, or what they're interested in, and they can continue there. And then we have SANS trainings that we'll be offering at different times throughout the year. And everyone knows that tried and true SANS certifications are actually recognized at all companies. And that just kind of helps your resume, and it helps a lot of times to get your foot in the door. And the ISC2, we'll be working with that particular track as well. On this particular level, they have the CC training, so you can get cybersecurity certification when you're new to it, and you get certified in that, and that lets people know that you're serious about cybersecurity, and you can continue on your educational journey for there. And then Grow with Google, they have a really nice suite that can get you set up so you can actually work not necessarily just with Google as far as, I don't know, networking and cybersecurity, but any company. It's more agnostic. And then we have Fortinet. Now, Fortinet is one of those tracks that we have for beginners. It is specific to that particular vendor. It's a company, and they have their solution for networking, security, so on and so forth. So you can get certifications, and you can be ready to work with that particular tool or that particular platform. And there's so many companies that use that platform. They are looking for people that understand and know the platform. And that's a way to kind of, let's say, for example, you're in a pool of a lot of different applicants, and that company happens to use the Fortinet platform. That's going to give you an upper hand. That's going to make your resume pop. Okay. And in this day and age where you have AI to actually go through the first level of a lot of the applications that are submitted online, there are hundreds. And remember, a lot of times there may be a job that's remote, so you may not get just applications from that area. You're getting them from all over the United States. That is going to multiply the number of applications by 50. And so they need AI or some tool to help them go through all of it. So now you need to think about, what can I include in my resume that's going to make it pop? That is going to put it above all those others, so I can actually get human eyeballs on my resume and get a call back in for an interview. So thinking about where it is you're applying and having those courses, such as if a company is using a particular platform, you have some certifications on that particular tool, that kind of helps. So all of this is preparatory to get you set and ready to run out of the gates, for that race in life as far as professional development is concerned. Next, we have hold on, let me change it to the next one. We have, and you might not be able to see all of this, that's okay, because we have this actually on our website, and you can go and look at the PDF of all of it. But right now I'm just going through some of the parts to kind of explain it a little bit more. So again, you'll see Cybrary. Why? You just saw it where it talked about Cybrary, and you saw IT and cybersecurity professional. So it's giving you that basic information of what actually is called for in that particular level, that foundational level. But here, Career Accelerator, this is mid-level. This is people who have some experience, who may be working in the field, and they want to begin to either transition to maybe another role in this area in cybersecurity, or they're ready to kind of move up the ladder. They're going from the entry-level job that they may have, and now they want to do something that's a little bit more kind of mid-career. They may go from an analyst to a senior analyst or something of that nature. So here are courses that will help prepare you for that journey. And again, Cybrary, it's a becoming series. So now you could look at, hey, I want to be a pen tester. I want to be an incident handler. I want to work in the SOC. I want to be a business systems administrator, because yes, in cybersecurity, there are some roles that are not all technology specific, and it's more about working on the business side and business operations too. That's important. And then, of course, you may want to be a cloud engineer or just a cybersecurity engineer. So taking a course in Cybrary will get your feet wet into, hey, is this something I'm interested in? And do I want to do that? And we'll start evolving our different courses. So if you've taken some of the introductory courses, which I would say Cybrary is, then you might be given extra points or maybe shortlisted to some of the other courses that are a little bit harder to get into because we have limited licenses, or because you can't have as many people doing that particular course. So a lot of times, some of these courses is a little bit almost like in college. In college, you have that first year. And once you've done that first year, then you're eligible to take these other courses. We won't be quite like that, but it will be looked upon favorably if you've taken some of the foundational courses. Even if it's one of these becoming courses in Cybrary, it will help you succeed more in some of the following courses. And then you'll have Cyversity. Now, this one I'm excited about, David. I'm going to tell you why. Cyversity has, and I don't know a lot of organizations, nonprofit, that have done this. We have our very own course that was created in-house. So Mia, and I forgot her last name, but that's okay. Mia is kind of like Cher. She doesn't need a last name. You should recognize her.
Cliff, yes.
Cliff, but you should recognize her by the first name, Mia. It's kind of like Prince. She has created this course, and it takes people through GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. So one, there are courses in governance, risk, and compliance, but not many where you get practice. So we call this a practicum because it teaches the methodology and the theory, but you also get practice writing policies and doing it. So when you finish this course, you're ready to go in and say, hey, I have a little experience. It may be in the classroom, but I understand what it is to write a policy or to help review one, so on and so forth. So this is a great course that's been built in-house, meaning you can only get this course if you are a Cyversity member and you're a part of our community. And I think is well worth it. Now, this course is actually open for enrollment today. It closes on Monday, and I extended it because I wanted, if people are interested in going the GRC route and they want to learn more about risk and policy, this is the course for you. So just take heed, go to our site, and if you're a member, you can actually log in and you can actually submit an application. All courses will have an application process from now on, so we'll understand where everyone is at, so we can make sure and get the students and set them up for success. And let's say, for example, an application might not be accepted. Don't be disheartened. It means that maybe, and you have the right to ask, hey, why? And we can go back and help you. Maybe it's another course that you might need for preparation for the course that you wanted, or maybe there's some other ones that might be more beneficial to what you feel your career goals are. So just make sure and apply for this one if you're very interested. And it closes on Monday, so you have until Monday or maybe Sunday night to actually apply for that particular course. So really excited about that one. And then, of course, we have the SANS, again, tried and true. But what we're trying to do here, we're trying to have specific tracks for specific types of direction that people want to go. Now, some people may say, oh, I don't see what I'm interested in. That's okay. Remember, this is evolving, but you have to start someplace. And we'll start and we'll take information on different tracks or roles that may be missing that you guys feel that you would like to see. and we'll add that. Remember, all of these curriculums are for you. So your input, you helping us to give you the best alternatives for quality education as possible, totally open to that. It's about you guys. And I like to start it with, we have experts that say, hey, this is what I need people to know. But at the same time, it's about what you feel you want to know, and we bring the two together. So we have SANS, and we have some different certifications that will certification tracks there. And then we have ISC2. You heard about the CC, cybersecurity certification in the foundational level. With this one, is the CISSP. And so most people know that. So you need to, one, have had some work experience before you can even kind of apply for this one. And then you can go through it. And what this shows employers is, hey, you have not only the experience, but the knowledge and expertise to kind of excel. Okay. And I know a lot of times people who are wanting to rise up in their career and they're maybe going technical and they're getting a little bit more going toward the executive suite. This is one of those certifications that has been found to be tried and true, and they take for that. And then lastly, we have Fortinet again. And this is a vendor again that has graciously offered to include the courses that they have and the certifications for it. And I would say that Fortinet, if I'm not mistaken, is a global company. So there are companies all over the world that needs this particular skill set, and they're willing to train you here and to get you the certifications you need to show that you're trained and qualified for it. To the right, again, you'll see the different roles that are actually possible depending on what track you take, but all of it is there for you. Now, last but not least, we have one more pathway or track that we would like to show you. And this one is one of those things where we talked about the enhancement, where we're improving. This one is Executive Management Enhancement. And let me go to that particular slide. There we go, slide. See, I'm actually in Georgia right now, so my Southern accent comes back in and I start talking about slide and y'all or whatever. So I go back and forth. But in any case, the executive management leadership level. Here, this is to help bring enhancement and even improvements for those that are on the executive level. You may be CISO or even directors, or senior directors, and you're headed in that particular direction. Now, this is important because, again, remember we said knowledge is a continuous thing, and things change so quickly. So even if you find yourself, you're tried and true, a great CISO, there's always something more that you can learn. There is something more that you can bring and add to your tool belt so you can be more successful and more engaging to either your employees or the cybersecurity industry at large. So we have different courses here. We have planning and policy leadership, SOC leadership. We have a partnership in place with MIT for an executive leadership program, and that's great. You get a certification from MIT, and those things aren't easy to come by. And Cyversity is trying to offer you those courses and certifications that are cream of the crop. And then at the bottom here, we have the DCRO. And for the DCRO, that's to get you board ready as far as risk is concerned. So risk board member readiness. It helps you with governance and also being able to be on a board and speak to risk so companies will know or understand the risk appetite, what they're willing to risk and not when it comes to cybersecurity. And this one is going to really be, it's a hot one. Why do I say companies are very much interested in the risk part of what they do and what their posture is as they roll out and they work with the rest of the world. So these are the three, and I go back to the beginning. So now we have the foundational level. We have the Career Accelerator track or level. And then we have the Executive Management level or track as well. And so those are the three tracks that we'll be offering. we're rolling out these things, not all at once. And that's another change that we're making, and I call it an enhancement. So before, people might apply for a particular license, and ad hoc, they would just kind of get one or not based on the availability. But because now we have our membership is growing, we want to be a little bit more structured into how we roll out a particular program or a course or a pathway. So you have the tracks, which are the levels, and then you have the pathways. Those are the particular paths that you would take within a particular track or level. And so now we're looking at a tentative schedule. So as I mentioned before, the governance, risk, compliance fundamentals course, it is accepting applications now, and it will end March 18th. That's on Monday. After that, then we'll go through a process of review. People the following or the next 2 weeks, I don't have the exact schedule in mind, they will learn if they were accepted into it. We will launch the course. The course will go for 12 weeks. It meets, I believe, twice a week. And after 12 weeks, you'll go through some exercises, and you'll have, this one isn't really a certification course, but you'll have that information you need to excel as far as governance, risk, and compliance is concerned. Because remember, it's not all about the technological type of courses or certifications. GRC is another viable direction as well. Now, for the other ones that I mentioned, there are new cycles that will be starting up. Why do I say new cycles? Well, there are a lot of licenses being used that people are currently in a cycle. But this next one, we're going to have everyone start at the same time, so we can all end at the same time. And so we can provide intermittent type of webinars or pathway get-togethers, so we can compare our success, and we can help set you guys up for success. Because most of these, there is a certification at the end. So have you taken a particular pathway? Did you finish it? And did you complete the certification and get the certification? All those things matter because, again, data analytics, we're going to be looking and learning from the knowledge of the past to know how we go toward the future. And so knowing who's actually completing the trainings, who is actually taking the certifications and actually, finishing up, that'll let us know how to improve the different pathways for the future, or whatever we can do to facilitate the success or increase the success rate of the different courses. So Cybrary, Fortinet, and Grow with Google, they all will have upcoming cycles where we will put out applications for people who are interested in those cycles. So go look at the curriculum, find where you feel you fit or what will help you best, and then be ready and be on the lookout. And if you have suggestions on what you feel you might like to see or do, I would say you can email partners@cyversity.org, because they collect all that information and we'll digest it and put it in some form so we can act on it. So feel free to do that. And then to be announced are the courses that I mentioned that are SANS, DCRO, MIT, ISC2. All of those we will be doing, we will be rolling out as well, but not at this moment, and we don't have a date to do that. But the new cycles that'll be coming up in the next, I will probably say the next month. And that's it. That was a lot. I knew it was a lot. It was a brain dump, but I had to get it all out.
I am so I got an opportunity to really, multitask while you were talking. I was putting things in the chat and then going through the questions. There's a lot of questions. You mind taking
okay,
them?
then great. Let's stop sharing.
Yes, let's start with Joe. I believe it's Janetta Bryant. I'm currently in a career change, and I know there's another gentleman here too, Anthony, that's in a career change. Joetta is coming from insurance, and Anthony is coming from being a physical trainer. And so Joetta's question directly is, how would you transition from an insurance career to a cybersecurity career? What area or steps would be best to take on to move into GRC?
Okay, so what I'll say, number one is if someone, it's a loaded question when you say I'm actually matriculating or transferring over to cybersecurity. Look at where you actually are and what you've been doing. And if you mildly enjoyed it or it was okay, you might want to use that. So you don't want to just start from scratch. So if you were in insurance, I know insurance, you have policies, and I'm just thinking because I don't know insurance that well, then it lends itself to GRC because you understand that world to a certain extent. So I would say, for example, the GRC program that now is accepting applications, that would be a natural transition into cybersecurity, and you're coming to the table with some experience. And so that's a great thing. Don't discount what you've already done. And I tell everyone, you've worked in insurance, that should be on your resume. Now you can concentrate and take courses that are specific to GRC, but it still has a little bit to do with policies and that world, and you can kind of matriculate more seamlessly to it. So I think you're naturally set up for success. I think that might be a good course or any course in GRC because the policy world is a large part of where that sits, and also risk and risk tolerance. That's also important in insurance. And so you might naturally understand that, where someone such as myself, and I come from cybersecurity awareness and education, I know of it, but I've not lived in that world. So it takes me a little bit more studying to, get into it. So that might be a natural course to start with, or anything in GRC. So go and kind of look at that. You could go to another site, I believe it's called cyberseek.org. Yes, cyberseek.org, and that would give you a good idea of the overall landscape as well. So you can look at it and choose something. And for the person who says, hey, I've been a personal trainer, then I say a personal trainer, you work with, I'm thinking you're working physically with a person, but I don't know if you worked in the back office or you did accounting and work or whatever, but look at what interests you and what experience you have, and you can build on that and just add to it. And so do that. And also don't discount volunteer work. I tell young people that, and they want to put down, and this is something we have to think about. Okay, I'm gonna drop a little negative wisdom here. We've been taught or cultivated. Let's put down all the things I've done to prove that I'm worthy and I can work. So if I've worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken, or if I've worked at Pizza Hut, so let me put that down. But I would say this: on your resume should be pointing toward where you want to go, not necessarily everything that you've done in the past. So volunteer at your church and say, hey, I'll do your website for you. I'll look at if you have a website, how secure is it or whatever. Volunteer and do some of these things that you would like to do, so you can say, I have some experience, because experience is experience. It does not matter if you're paid for it or if you do it voluntarily. So think about that. And when those things need to drop from your resume, those kind of jobs where maybe you couldn't practice some of the elements you want someone to hire you for, those should be the first to drop. So that's just something to kind of think about. And I tell young people that all the time: good to have a job, good to have it down, but it's going to be the type of job and how you can demonstrate that you can do the job or have done the job that you're looking for.
One of the other things I might just mention is that I've told a couple of friends that if you're wherever you are now, you might want to go and look at the cyber domains, because when you look at the cyber domains, it's like 9 of them. And every domain is no less than 10 subject matter specifics that you can look at and associate to who you are and where you are today. The other thing is that if you're already working at a company, well, go volunteer with their technology department. Exactly. You go right there and volunteer with them, and who knows what happens in the crossover. Exactly. So I'm going to continue with these questions, but in the meantime, Mia, it looks like there's a couple of GRC questions for you. But Mia, Cliff, I know you're here. If you wouldn't mind putting your LinkedIn or your contact information in the chat so people can contact you directly too. Here's another question from one of my favorites. His name is Brian. Can you also access the site? Can this also be accessed via the Cyversity app? Will we be? Yes, go please.
I would say yes, because remember, you just need to log on. But when you're on the Cyversity app, It's just a different form of getting that same information from the web. But you do have to be a member to see some of the more specific things. To fill out this application, I believe you can do it on the app, but you still need to be a member to get to it. And if I'm talking out of place, David, you let me know. But I'm pretty sure the app works the same as the website.
It sure does. It sure does. And I would also suggest if you're not familiar, I've asked Matt, our guy in the background, to put Monique's contact information or LinkedIn information in the comment section. So you guys, if you see that pop up, just grab it and contact her there. I got a comment from Guidance Grunde. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly because I'm from New York and I pronounce everything like a New Yorker. I love this. I want to attend. How do I start?
Well, what is this? I love this.
I would love to, excuse me, I'm the one that said it wrong. I would love to attend, which would mean, but I'm assuming is one of the training courses. How do I start?
Okay. How do you start? Go to our website, log in. Again, you have to be a member. And then if I'm not mistaken, it's loaded. The PDF is loaded for all these particular things. And again, you'll have to wait for us to open up the applications for whichever pathway or track that you're interested in. The ones that I mentioned when I talked scheduling, the GRC is open now. The others for Cyversity, especially if you're foundational, Cyversity, I would go for that one next, so you can get an idea. It's not that hard. It's going to introduce you to the cybersecurity world to a certain extent and some of the more foundational roles, and then the others like the Grow with Google and the CC. If you go for the ISC2, the cybersecurity certification, that means you're really sure, because it's going to take a certain amount of work. And that's another thing that I want to mention. All of these pathways, we're trying to make them kind of finite. So you might see that you might need to take a couple. Why? We don't want to track this so long, like a year long, and it takes you so long to do it. We want to get you in, get some information so you can act on on that information in some way. So we're trying to gear our pathways to 6 months, but the issue is that a lot of the licenses are for a year. So we're going to work that out. But me personally, is if I want to do something, I almost like a boot camp. Give me a whole week, nothing else. I'd send the kids to their grandparents or whatever, so I can just dig down and get through it. But everyone isn't that way. Maybe you want to do a little bit per week, and that's fine too. But when you draw it out, and that's statistically shown, the longer you take to do it, the less people do to succeed. Why? When you get to that certification, it's going to maybe ask you something you learned 9 months ago. Are you going to remember it? And this is something else. I follow the philosophy of Dr. John Medina, and that is how we learn. We're biologically wired to learn in certain ways. When we take in information, if we don't practice it within 3 hours to 3 days, you're going to lose that information. That's why kids have homework when they come home. They're actually reteaching themselves what they learned in school because they didn't get a chance to practice it. So the quicker you can get through something, that means that the probability you retain that information, if you haven't had a chance to just practice it day to day, is better. So it's better to just push through it than to just draw it all out. But life comes with things where sometimes you have to do that, and that's okay. But we are trying to make it a little bit shorter rather than longer. And also we can have a quicker turnaround and give everyone an opportunity to kind of practice and absorb this knowledge and information.
Wow, you are absorbed of this. This is definitely you. You made a great point, Monique. These resources that are being offered by Cyversity are for Cyversity members. So if you're not a Cyversity member, it would behoove you to go to our website, because I see Darlene is on the website now. Darlene Libera is on the website looking for where she can apply. Darlene, I think I've also asked Matt to put Monique's LinkedIn at least in the chat so that you could see that, and then at that point you can ask her a couple of questions as well.
Yeah, and I'll throw in there's a cost, And even for students, it's a cost, but it's minimal. I believe it's about $20. And this is the thing. I have a nephew who's graduating. He wants to go into cybersecurity. I am making him purchase his own membership, and I could help him out, but I'm not. You know why? Sometimes when you put a little skin in the game, it matters more to you. If I'm not willing to put a little skin in the game, then easy come, easy go.
Easy go.
So when I know that he does that, I know he's kind of serious. And then, I'm like, well, he can put forth some effort. Now I can. So sometimes it's good to kind of do that, because you're not going to forget that $20 you spent. If you can just have a free membership, it's easy to forget. And for those of us who have a career, we can it's a discount when you consider all the things that you get. And we're just talking about the education part today. We don't even talk about the mentorship and other things.
Gotcha. I'm moving over to Amber. Super excited to apply to the GRC course. I would also like to know if there's a way to introduce cybertorial to high school girls in the Atlanta Metro School area.
I'm working on it, and I actually have people on my board that are educators in the city of Atlanta. And I didn't work for the city of Atlanta, but if anyone, I'm dating myself, I used to work for Jostens. They're the ones to make that class ring, if you remember that. And so we introduced the computers into the Atlanta school way back when. So that is one of the reasons that I created Cybertorial. Even if I'm on the West Coast, my primary target, or its primary target audience, would be, for example, Atlanta and even the rural areas like in Macon, Tifton, the south of Georgia, if you know Georgia well. So we are working toward that. So what I did not mention is Cybertorial. We're based on edutainment. So we create comic strips and animations. Nice. And we have a cyber hero that's built in the image of a Black woman. And we have her going and solving cyber crimes and so on and so forth. So I think this will resonate with young girls. This inserts us into the narrative. And so very much that's the demographics we want to go to. And as we evolve our product line, go to that site, cybertorial.org, to kind of learn more. You can email me and I can tell you more.
Good. Anthony, he's from the state of Texas, is currently, he's transitioning. He's the physical trainer that's transitioning into cybersecurity. Asked a question, and one of our board members, Brian Ariselli, answered it in part, but I wanted you to give you a shot at it too. Wanting to switch my career to industry, should I continue my Coursera course, or continue my Coursera course, and in addition to going through these foundational courses at Cyversity?
Okay, I'll say this. Number one, there's so much time in a day. So now you're looking at, and reminds me of another thing, one course at a time. Why take 2 and 3 courses at the same time? You're dividing your time, you're dividing your interests, and you can't give quality. So me personally, I do one at a time. If it's a webinar, I can maybe do a webinar and another one and another one. But when it's a course and I need to devote myself because there's a certification at the end of it, then I'm going to devote myself to one. And on that note, with what we're offering now, you can only have a license to one course within Cyversity at a time. And if you do that one course and do it well, and you get that certification or complete it satisfactory, then you can do others. But why take up 2 or 3, and it's going to take you that much longer to do, because there's only so much time in a day. And as far as Coursera is concerned, Coursera is a great platform and one to work with. Now, our Grow with Google happens to sit on Coursera, but it is the instance coming from Cyversity, which is better. Why? Because we can help keep up, and we can supplement and give you maybe support that you need along the way when you have questions, so on and so forth. If you just go to Coursera route, you may not have that extra, I wouldn't say attention, but that extra resource to ask questions or so on and so forth. So, I mean, I would say that's why the Cyversity instance is better, even though that's also Coursera. And then also Coursera is so wide open. It's too many things to distract you. Mm-hmm. It's almost like when you go to watch TV, my sister has a Fire Stick or something. There are so many channels on there. I can't even decide to know what I want to watch. It's just too many choices. So we want to whittle it down to those things that are just most important. And so if you're thinking cybersecurity, you can look at what we're offering or go to CyberSeek or even look at the cyber domains and be more focused and directed. If you go Coursera, it's so much. It's like, well, where do I go? How do I start? So on and so forth.
So we're getting close to time, or we're at time, but here we're gonna wrap it through a couple of extra questions. Here's one from Edgebit. Will non-U.S. members be able to apply for the SANS pathway?
It depends on the course. And a lot of times we may have certain requirements that are based on who is helping to sponsor that course. So, and I can't speak for SANS, but I know a lot of times it may be restricted to the United States. And that's only because there are certain things that you need to provide so they can verify you, which might be, I don't know, something to do with income or your state residency or something like that. I'm not sure. So for that reason, that may be the case. But even though I would say that there are a lot of organizations that provide training that are outside the United States as well. So I would say email me, because I know of some different organizations out of Africa. I recently came from Kenya, and beautiful place, and I love the continent, but there are organizations there that give training as well. So it's just to find what applies most for you. And I will say, I do believe we're expanding. We're not there yet. Remember, this is a journey, not a destination. And over time, we'll probably have offerings for other countries as well. So right now, for some of the different courses we have, it may be open to those. It may be open to those outside of the United States. The SANS in particular, I think is probably less of a likelihood, but it may be the case. But I will remember, when we put down applications, we will put the requirements so you'll know, before you go through all the trouble of applying, if you are eligible.
That's a great answer. There's another gentleman that you've mentioned. You've just been to Kenya. He's a gentleman from Africa, Daniel, currently in his final year of bachelor's degree in networking and cybersecurity. How does someone in Africa land an internship in cybersecurity?
Okay, first, I think start from where, and actually, I think I got this answer. I'm stealing from Sharon a little bit. And she was saying, start in the local community where you are. Look at the companies that may need cybersecurity. So meaning, don't all of a sudden say, I want to go remote and work in another country and work from here. That may or may not always work. During pandemic, that might have been the case. But hey, everything's evolving. You'll notice that most companies are sending people, or having them required to be in the office so many days a week. So look at where you are, look at that landscape and go there. If you don't have any experience, do the same thing that I said before. See if you can volunteer at your church. See if you can volunteer with some particular business or whatever to help them in their security posture. Then you have that on your resume. You can start going to other business saying, I did this, whether you were volunteer or not at this other place, you're beginning to get that experience. And then I would say, then you kind of spread yourself out, not just your local community, then go to maybe the state area or the region. And then even in Africa, let's say I'm in Kenya, I can start applying to places in Nigeria, vice versa, but it depends on the local regulations there as well. It's what's possible.
Interesting. This has been an exciting conversation, and the questions and the comments in the comment section have been quite lively and quite engaging. They're engaging with each other in the comment section.
Great.
They're helping and training and talking to each other in the comment section. So that speaks a lot to the need for this this education piece. One of my final questions, I have two questions, right? The first is, how is this educational program going to help attract more folks to Cyversity? That's my first question. How do you think, how do we help it? How would you help it? How do we help it attract more folks to Cyversity? What do we do?
I think one, spreading the word and letting them know that education is one of the focuses, and letting them know that we are trying to come up with a structured way to show what our curriculum will include, because now they kind of know what they're getting, or they know what we're working toward offering in the future. So that's number one, just getting the word out there. And after that, hopefully word of mouth will help us to grow. And then knowing that along with this, what we're trying to also do is to create an atmosphere or environment where we can help support by the interaction we just had in the comment section. That's how people learn. You heard something, you share it. You can learn by what you read and see, but you also learn by what you share and tell. And so that's a part of it. And we want to bake that into the approach for the different pathways to sharing, to creating the networking and the alliances. So I would say that one, spreading the word and just, applying.
Good. One of our LinkedIn users has made the statement, Monique, can you share about the realities of finding entry-level positions in cybersecurity? It's not as easy as people let on.
You know what? What I'm going to tell him is he's exactly correct, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But I'm also going to say any entry-level position is hard these days. And I think it's harder now than, say, for example, when I got out of college. Why? You have so many people graduating, and that's why we're creating alternative ways. Say, for example, you're new to it. Now there are training programs and the certifications. So those that can't afford college can maybe go that particular route. But you have so many people vying for, those same roles of jobs. The competition makes it really, really hard. So, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but what you have to do is this. It's perseverance. And also a little of it has to do with your perspective. So I'll just say this because I have nieces and nephews that are a lot younger. A lot of times because we have social media, things come to you much easier. So, hey, I want to eat. I just call DoorDash. I don't take the time to go and cook myself something. I want to go to a movie. I don't have to go to the movies. I can just have it come to me. So some things take hard work. And it's the perception that it should just be easy because I want it, I get it. But no, you're going to have to work for it because there are those outside. And remember, we're more of a global community. So you have people from other countries coming or whatever, and their ethics and I would say it, willingness to just work at it 24/7 or 25 hours out of 24-hour day is there. You got to compete with them. And so you got to have to really put yourself into it and know it takes perseverance. You don't give up. Just because you didn't get it today doesn't mean you won't get it tomorrow. And I say on average, even if you're experienced, it will take up to 3 months to 6 months, maybe a year to get that next gig. And that's if you have experience. So if you're entry level, just ride the wave, stay the course, don't give up, and keep trying and trying. I had someone that worked, and he was an intern, and he worked at a company I was at. And I asked him, what did it take to get this job? And he said, I sent out over 150 resumes. And he said, I got about 20 back, and I just interviewed and I kept at it. So no, it counts. When he said 150, I'm like, that's a lot. But it might take something like that. I'm hoping that was like a special case, but know that you might have to go up until that amount and keep trying and trying and trying. So it is hard. Don't give up. That's what I would say. Join or be a part of a community where they can help uplift you and help give you that strength when you feel you don't have it. Sometimes at work, I'm the only person talking about cybersecurity, and I can see people's eyes rolling because they're like, oh, there she comes talking about cybersecurity again. But you know what I do? I come to a community like here, and that's where I get my energy. That's where I get my strength to go back and fight that good fight and to be there and get excited about it because I know I represent a community and we're excited about it. We just got to spread that excitement.
That what you've said is reminiscent of what the founding board of directors for Cyversity has said, with the founding chair, Julian Waits, and our current chair, Sharon, has said. This is not an easy trek. Don't get it twisted, if you will. This is not the easiest of trek. And because the landscape continues to evolve so pervasively, it will continue to get harder and harder and harder. One thing Sharon has always said is that, as you just mentioned, find yourself in a community. And Cyversity, I think, is that community. At least it is for me. Because here's where you're working with an organization that is relational, right? And you're talking about relational from baseline to its pinnacle, focusing on education, focusing on training, business development, focusing on recruitment, focusing on everything that's in Cyversity, not only the technical attributes. Of course, that's real, and that's the technical attributes are real, and that's what's important. The other thing is that Cyversity, at the end of the day, is likely to be the go-to organization that helps you get past those barricades that are those traditional and challenging those norms and barricades that are also there, because if we're relational as we want to be, we'll have that relationship that can help you walk past that. And the educational piece, which you're talking about now, is the critical factor. We all know that education is the divider, it's the distinction, it's the differentiator between who does have and who doesn't have. Now, you don't have to be, you could be formally trained, or you could be formally trained in the school of hard knocks. I think it's just this, it's relatively the same. I think all I'm saying to you, Monique, is that what you're doing here is so incredibly powerful. You could see all of the comments in the comment section alluding to this educational piece as being one of our North Stars, if you will, and one of our primary tools to educating the community. I got to say, and just from looking at the chat, I got to say I've been just blessed by having you here today. We clicked immediately when we started talking. We clicked, and I'm so happy to have an opportunity to be part of the catalyst to get your message out there about education. I was going to ask you where we're going, but I'd like you to take the floor and to give us a parting message, if you will, and tell us, give us your parting theme or dogma, if you will. Just tell us, give us that parting statement.
Wow. I would just say, know yourself and think about what you need to grow and to be the person you want to be. Find what works best for you. Always be true to yourself and never stop learning. No matter what it is you're doing, never stop learning. Yeah, we need a break and we need to go and watch a little bit on the cat videos, or I get some of my dance moves from some things I've seen on TikTok or on Instagram, but limit yourself in that and make sure you take the time to, look at relevant information that's going to help you grow and learn and evolve, and continue to network and reach out to people in Cyversity. And I look forward to just connecting with everyone.
Join Cyversity. Take advantage of these tools. Take advantage of all our tools. Thank you very much, Monique. Appreciate it very much. For everyone that joined us, thank you for your time and your attendance today. We ran a little bit over, but you know how it is. It's good when it's good.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Everybody be well.
Bye-bye.
Matt, can you come up to the front, please?